Hey, how's it going? And today I'm excited to bring you this video on binocular vision in Vegas Pro. And this is creating the perspective of someone looking through a pair of binoculars, and we're seeing from their perspective. So you'd have a shot of someone looking through binoculars like here, like a close-up or a long shot of someone looking through some binoculars, and then you'd cut to their point of view, and it would look something like this. And I was wondering, how would you do that in Vegas Pro? Sure enough, it's not that hard to do. It takes a little bit of a few steps, but I think it's not too hard. And so here we go. To start, I've got my footage here already on the timeline, and it's just a guy walking down the sidewalk. And this is a little bit more challenging because he's moving. He's not necessarily a static object. So this would be really easy if he wasn't moving, but I'm going to show you how you can kind of track on him in a kind of a cool way. Anyway, so you can add a new track. I need to add a track. So I've got my video, and then I have a video track above that. You can add a video track simply by going insert video track and Control-Shift-Q in case you ever forget the shortcut, but it pays to learn that because you're adding new tracks all the time. Here we are on this clip, and then I'm going to go into media generator, and I'm going to go to color gradient and then elliptical to transparent black. And this is what inspired me to make this. As I was looking at that, I was like, well, if I just drag this on right now, it's kind of a cool vignette effect. Maybe it's a little overdone, but you can back it off. But I was thinking, hey, that's what it might look like through binoculars. As you come down here on this control, and you'll see these are called control points, and this one kind of adjusts the interior of the circle, kind of like the feathering almost, it seems like, and this controls the actual outer circle. And the one thing I noticed in trying to create this was in centering this up, because it's actually just on the other side of if you imagine a line coming right down the middle of the screen, it's off to one side of that. So I'll show you what I mean in a minute. But you just mess with these control points, keep scooching them around until you get the circle looking like you think it should look. And I notice the more you bring them closer, the less feathering there is. So you probably want just maybe like a slight feathering, something like that. But anyway, once you get it where you want it, you just grab this. You can add control points here by clicking this, and you can start creating some weird stuff, and you can see this added some control points in here just to get rid of them. And this one here switches the control points around if you're so inclined to do that. And this moves you around on the control points and everything. So anyway, once you've got your circle the way you like it, then what I'm going to do is that little plus sign, I'm just going to click and drag this. And like I said, let me go to the overlay here. I'm trying to figure out like kind of where the halfway point is on the screen. So I think it's somewhere right about there. So let me see here. I might as well just type in numbers here. So I'll put in 0.5 just to kind of keep things consistent. And what happens if I put in 0.5 here? Oh, that's dead center. So maybe 2.5 that's a little bit too far off the screen. So let's go ahead and just make it 0.3. And I think that should be good. Let me maybe come in a little bit more. So I'm just going to type in 0.35. I think that's where I had it last time. And we can adjust this later. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off the grid. So actually looking at this grid, I would say this is the center line. So let's just go ahead and drag it right there on that center line. Okay, and that's good right there. I'm just going to leave that on for right now. Okay, because that is very helpful. Now once this is done, actually I want to turn this off. So now what we got to do is we're going to pull this back. You can't see the picture because it's transparent. So in Vegas Pro, black is transparent. So what we're going to do is just come up here let me go to Project Media here, and we're going to hit this, and we're going to save this as binocular 3, because I've done this a couple times already, and go save. And there it is up here, right? What's really cool about this, after you've worked on creating this one side of the binocular, if you come up here into your media generator, if you highlight the text here, you can call this, I'm going to call this binocular 4. You can save all this as a preset, so you don't have to re-input or readjust anything. You can pull it up at any time. It's saved within Vegas, and you can use it again at any other time. So I'm going to call it binocular 4, and we'll click this and go save. So now that's saved as a preset, so have to recreate this because I need to create the other half of this. So now once I have that saved as an image, I can go ahead and delete this because I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to go Control-Shift-Q and add another track. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down this image and put it right there on my track, like that. And then what I'm going to do, I can stretch this out a little bit if I wanted to. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up here and drag this down to the timeline. And the first thing I can do, there's a couple things we got to do. First, I can go ahead and set this preset to binocular 4, so it's exactly the same size as the other one. Now you'll notice if I come in here and I click and I drag this, it seems to disappear, right? And so we have to do a couple things. One thing we have to do is change on this top track, change the compositing mode to multiply. And you notice we still can't see it, but we've got to then make this second track a child of the first track. And now you see we can see both of them. So now all I've got to do, like if I actually go back to this grid, I can just line this one up using the grids. And I think you want it just like pretty well even. So I think too, because this one is a little bit blurry, it looks a different size than this one, but I actually think they are exactly the same. And there's some darkness over here too that you're not seeing. And then I guess you just click that to turn it off. And there's our binoculars. Now what we can do is once we're done with that, I can move this background out of the way. And I'm going to come up here to save. And I'm just going to call this binoculars. And go save. And here it is right here. So now once that's all done, I can click this and click that. Hit Control or Shift. Should be able to select both of these for some reason. It's not letting me. There we go. And delete those two tracks. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go Control-Shift-Q and I'm going to bring the binoculars down onto the top track. And now I've got my binoculars. Now here's where it's interesting. If you wanted to, let's say you did it and it wasn't quite centered the way you wanted it, you could actually come in here to pan crop and adjust it here. Like you can move it around. Like let's say you did come in here and you moved it and you didn't like it at all. You can actually punch in if you wanted to make it bigger. You know, you can do all kinds of stuff. But if, let's say you got in here and you mess it up, you can just click restore and get out of that. Okay, so now I've got the binoculars on there, and this can be saved and reused as many times as you want. Like I said, you can go into pan and crop and resize it as well. So now there's just one little issue I'm going to show you here. As I hit play, he kind of walks out of the shot, and it realistically, if someone was looking through binoculars, they're not just going to keep looking forward, they're going to move. But then we don't want the binoculars to move. We want the binocular view. So actually, let's say maybe that was too much binocular view right there. So let me say I do want to punch in a little bit there. So let me just go ahead and do that. I'm going to punch in a little bit more. I want a little bit more binoculars. But as I'm showing this scene, that would be one workaround, is just make the binoculars bigger. But let's say I want to track on him a little bit more. So what I could do is if I come down here to track motion on this would be the second track, and that's track motion. What I can do, make sure I'm on the first keyframe, is I can move him along a little bit like that. And then what I can do is actually move the video. Oh, not that way. Let's see, what I want this at 0. Not that way. I don't want to move it that way. I want to move it. If you click right there, I can actually move the video a little bit. And to a certain extent, not a lot, but just a little bit, I can move it a little bit. And then I have a little bit more realism in the shot because now I kind of move with him a little bit. See that? And if I wanted to add a little bit more realism, I guess I could come in here to track motion again and move down a frame, and I could just actually go up a little bit, down a little bit, and then come over just a little bit more and then bring it back down to make it look like I'm actually tracking him a little bit. Okay, so here we go. I'll play it from the top. Now looking at that, I think if I was really watching him, I think I would track a little bit better than that. So let me fix that. So if I come over here, I can click right on the frame, and here, let's see, which way is he going? I can drag this playhead. So it looks like I am going down, but maybe a little too far there. So make sure you're on the keyframe, and I'll do it like that. And then I'll drag this along. See, I'm going down again. I should go down this way. Like I'm really keeping him in my view. Okay. And then I think that's it. So let me see how this looks. Oh, that's not, this one's got to go. So let me get rid of this. If I zoom in here, I see the culprit is that one. There. So now let's look at it again. Yeah, and that's pretty much how I would do it. And then, of course, you just cut away to an actual shot of the guy looking through the binoculars. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful. I think it's kind of a fun little thing you can play around with and see what you can come up with. Take care, have a great day, and I will talk to you later.